What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a daytime talk show seemingly to find himself squarely in the crosshairs of a host determined to tear him down? Today, we're diving into one of the most uncomfortable moments ever broadcast on live television. A moment where Joy Behar's relentless questioning pushed legendary actor Robert De Niro to the edge and nearly derailed the show entirely. Before we get into this wild story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us about the most awkward TV moment you've ever witnessed. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. The morning began like any other at the View Studios. Actually. Joy cut in. Turning toward Sarah with a thin smile, "There's something else I'd like to ask." She shifted her gaze back to De Niro. "Robert, do you think your reputation for being difficult to work with affects the performances of the actors around you?" De Niro's eyes widened in open disbelief. "Difficult to work with," he repeated. "Who told you that?" "Oh, come on." Joy waved a dismissive hand. "Everyone in Hollywood knows the stories. The tantrums, the demands, the way you treat crew members when things don't go your way." "That is completely false." De Niro shot back, his voice firm now, no longer restrained. "You're repeating rumors and gossip. I've worked with the same people for decades because they know exactly who I am." Joy calmly shuffled through her cue cards, clearly prepared for this moment. "Really? Because I have it on good authority that you made an assistant cry just last week on set." The accusation detonated in the air. De Niro stared at her, silent. His expression shifted shock, then anger, then something close to disgust. "Good authority," he said slowly. "From who? Which assistant? What set?" "This is exactly the kind of tabloid garbage I protect my sources," Joy interrupted smugly. "But the story I heard was very detailed." "This is character assassination," De Niro said flatly. "You're making things up." Whoopi finally leaned forward. "Joy, I think maybe we should move on." "No," De Niro said, raising his hand without looking away from Joy. "I want to hear this." He turned back to her, voice steady but razor sharp. "If you're so confident in your sources, Joy, then tell the story. Share the details. Let's hear exactly what you think happened." For the first time, Joy hesitated. Her confident expression flickered just for a beat. "Well, I don't think it's appropriate to get into all the specifics on air." "Of course you don't," De Niro said, leaning back with a bitter smile. "Because there are no specifics. There is no incident. There is no assistant. You're just throwing mud and hoping something sticks." The tension in the studio became suffocating. Cameras zoomed in tighter, capturing every twitch, every breath, every crack in composure. Joy's face flushed red, but instead of retreating, she doubled down. "Just because I won't reveal my source doesn't mean it didn't happen, Robert. Maybe you're so used to people being afraid of you that you've forgotten how you actually behave." "Afraid of me?" De Niro repeated, his voice dropping into a dangerous calm. "The only thing I'm afraid of right now is how low this show has sunk. This used to be a respectable program." "Oh, spare me the lecture on respect," Joy snapped, coming from someone who's made a career glorifying violence and toxic masculinity. "How many movies have you made where the solution to every problem is punching someone or shooting them?" De Niro stared at her, genuinely stunned. "Are you seriously criticizing me for playing characters?" he said. "Do you understand what acting is? Or should I start holding you responsible for every reckless thing you've said on this show over the years? Stupid." Joy shot back, her voice rising. "Now who's being disrespectful?" "You started this," De Niro replied coldly. "You invited me here under false pretenses and spent the entire interview trying to humiliate me. And yes, some of what you've said today has been incredibly stupid." The other hosts looked off camera in panic, silently pleading with producers. Whoopi tried once more. Maybe we should take a commercial break. No, Joy cut her off sharply. I'm not done. She turned back to De Niro. Since you want to talk about respect, let's discuss your political comments. Don't you think it's hypocritical for someone who profits from violent movies to lecture the public about civility? De Niro's eyes narrowed. What does that even mean? He said, First, I'm difficult to work with. Then, I made someone cry. Now, I'm a hypocrite. What's next? I'm pointing out contradictions in your public persona, Joy replied, clearly pleased. You can't profit from violence in entertainment and then act morally superior in real life. Morally superior. De Niro let out a bitter laugh, and that laugh, low, incredulous, and unmistakably angry, was the moment everyone realized this interview was beyond saving. Robert De Niro arrived early, as he always did, sitting quietly in the green room while makeup artists prepared him for what was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance for his latest film, known for his discipline and professionalism. The Oscar-winning actor reviewed his talking points with his publicist, just minutes before being called to the set. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary as De Niro stepped onto the familiar stage. The audience erupted in applause. He waved politely and took his seat across from the panel. But at the far end of the table, Joy Behar barely looked up from her notes, a subtle detail that would soon prove telling. "Welcome back to The View," Joy announced, her voice carrying its familiar, sharp edge. "We're joined today by Academy Award winner Robert De Niro, who has a new movie out that I'm sure someone, somewhere, is excited about." Few nervous chuckles rippled through the audience. De Niro's eyebrows lifted slightly. He shifted in his chair, clearly caught off guard by the dismissive introduction. "Well, thank you for having me," he replied carefully, his gravelly voice calm and controlled. "Oh, don't thank us yet," Joy shot back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let's talk about this new film. Another tough guy role, I'm guessing? Seems like you've been playing the same character for, 40 years now?" The studio fell silent. Even the other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah N., and the rest of the panel exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't playful banter. This was something else. De Niro leaned forward slightly, hands clasped. "Actually, Joy, if you'd seen the film, you'd know it's very different from anything I've done recently. It's a character study about loss and redemption." "Oh, I see," Joy replied, dramatically flipping through her notes. "So it's a departure from your usual angry man shouting everyone routine. How refreshing." The audience was completely quiet now. You could feel the tension pressing down on the set. De Niro's jaw tightened, but he stayed composed. "I think you may be confusing me with some of the characters I've played. There's quite a range in my work if you look beyond the surface." "Range?" Joy scoffed. "Come on, Robert. You do one of two things in every movie. You either mumble incomprehensibly, or you explode in rage, sometimes both in the same scene." Whoopi leaned in, trying to intervene. "Joy, maybe we should." No, let me finish." Joy cut her off. Eyes locked on De Niro. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You've been coasting on your reputation for years. When was the last time you actually challenged yourself as an actor?" A flush crept across De Niro's face. The intensity he was famous for was now unmistakable. "Joy," he said slowly, "I don't know what your personal issue with me is, but this interview is supposed to be about the film. Maybe we could actually discuss that instead of your opinions about my entire career." "My problem?" Joy snapped, her voice rising. "My problem is that actors like you come on this show expecting us to fawn all over you because you made a couple of good movies in the 70s. This isn't a fan club. Robert, we ask real questions here." The cameras zoomed in, catching every flicker of emotion on De Niro's face. In the wings, his publicist looked moments away from panic. "Real questions," De Niro repeated quietly, his voice dropping into that dangerous low register. You call personal attacks real questions? You haven't asked me a single thing about the film, the director, or the story we're trying to tell. You're more interested in taking cheap shots. Joy leaned back in her chair, clearly enjoying the reaction. Oh, please. Don't act like you're above criticism. You're an actor, not a die-to-thou. I'm sure some people treat you like one. This is unbelievable, De Niro muttered, shaking his head. I've been doing interviews for 50 years, and I've never experienced anything like this. Well, maybe that's the problem. Joy fired back. Maybe you're so used to softball questions and praise that you can't handle an honest conversation. The rest of the panel now looked openly distressed, shifting in their seats and glancing toward the producers. Sarah N. finally tried to redirect. Robert, why don't you tell us about working with your co-stars on this film? But Joy wasn't finished. And what happened next is the moment that turned this tense exchange into daytime television history. Lady, you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to destroy my reputation on live television using gossip and outright lies. De Niro said coldly. So tell me who's really acting morally superior here. Joy shuffled her cards again, but this time her hands were visibly shaking. I'm asking the questions entertainment journalists are too afraid to ask. No, you're not, De Niro replied firmly. You're conducting a hit job. There's a difference between journalism and whatever this is. Sarah N. tried once more to steer the conversation back on track. Robert, maybe we can talk about your process as an actor. How do you prepare for actually, Sarah? I'd love to answer that, De Niro said, turning to her with genuine gratitude. But I don't think Joy is interested in acting. She seems far more invested in character assassination than actual characters. Joy scoffed. Don't play the victim, Robert. You've been in this business for 50 years. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't do interviews. Tough questions. De Niro's voice rose for the first time. You call inventing stories about me making assistants cry a tough question? You call dismissing my entire body of work a tough question? Those aren't questions, they're attacks. Everything I've said is fair game, Joy insisted. You're a public figure. Your behavior, your choices, your impact on society, all open for discussion. My behavior. De Niro shifted forward in his chair. Joy, my behavior right now is remarkably restrained, considering what you've put me through in the last 15 minutes. You've accused me of being difficult, of making people cry, of being hypocritical without a shred of evidence. Now you're questioning my right to object to any of it. The audience was completely silent, watching the wreck unfold in real time. Some viewers at home reached for their remotes. Others couldn't look away. I have every right to ask these questions, Joy said defiantly. This is my show. Your show? De Niro repeated, incredulous. Last I checked, it's called The View, not the Joy Behar Show. And even if it were your show, that wouldn't give you the right to ambush guests with lies and personal attacks. Joy's composure finally began to crack. I don't have to sit here and be lectured by you about how to do my job. And I don't have to sit here and be slandered on national television, De Niro shot back. But here we are. Whoopi made one last attempt to intervene. Okay, everybody, let's just take a step back. No, Whoopi, Joy interrupted, her voice trembling with anger. I'm tired of being told to back down. Robert De Niro thinks he can come on this show and intimidate me, but I'm not backing down. De Niro stared at her, disbelief mixing with something close to pity. Intimidate you? Joy, I haven't raised my voice. I haven't threatened you. I haven't even used profanity despite having every reason to. So how exactly am I intimidating you? Your whole demeanor, Joy snapped, gesturing wildly. The way you're looking at me, the way you're talking, you're trying to make me feel small. I'm defending myself against baseless accusations. De Niro replied evenly. If that makes you feel small, maybe you should ask yourself why you made those accusations in the first place. Joy's eyes flashed. Don't psychoanalyze me. I don't need career advice from someone who hasn't made a decent movie in 20 years. The words hit like a slap. De Niro went completely still, his face shifting through disbelief, anger, and finally settling into cold fury. 20 years, he said quietly. Do you actually know anything about my recent work, or are you just throwing out numbers? I know enough, Joy said, though her voice lacked conviction. No, you don't, De Niro replied, deadly calm. You haven't done your research. You haven't watched my recent films. You don't know my career, my process, or my character. You walked in here with a predetermined agenda to tear me down, and you've been making it up as you go. Joy tried to interrupt, but De Niro raised his hand. No, I'm talking now. You've had your turn to spread rumors. Now it's my turn to respond. The studio was so quiet you could hear the hum of the cameras. You want to talk about intimidation, Joy? He continued. This entire interview has been an attempt to intimidate me. False accusations, personal attacks, professional insults. He held her gaze. The difference is, I won't be bullied. Joy's face burned red as the weight of the moment pressed down on the room. And everyone knew this confrontation had crossed a point of no return. Asterisk whether Joy's face was flushed from anger or embarrassment was impossible to tell. I was doing my job, she said stiffly. No, De Niro replied firmly. Your job is to interview guests about their work, their projects, their craft. Your job is not to assassinate their character based on gossip and personal vendettas. Personal vendetta, Joy echoed, her voice cracking slightly. I don't have a personal vendetta against you. De Niro studied her for a long moment. Then what is this? He asked quietly. Because it feels personal. Did I offend you somehow? Turn down an invitation. Refused to do the show in the past. What did I do to deserve this treatment? Joy opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. For the first time all afternoon, she had no words. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Joy's lips parted and closed several times, but nothing came out. The other hosts exchanged panicked looks as it became clear something was unraveling live on air. Finally, Joy spoke, barely above a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. De Niro leaned forward, his tone gentler now, but unwavering. Joy, something about me is clearly bothering you. This level of hostility doesn't come out of nowhere. What is it? There's nothing personal, Joy insisted, though her voice trembled. I just think celebrities need to be held accountable. Accountable for what? De Niro pressed. You haven't named a single thing I've actually done wrong. You've made vague accusations about my personality, criticized films you clearly haven't seen, and invented incidents that never happened. What exactly are you holding me accountable for? Joy glanced desperately at her co-hosts, but they stared back at her in silence, confused, alarmed, helpless. Whoopi finally spoke. Joy, maybe we should stop trying to protect me, Joy snapped. I can handle this, can you? De Niro asked softly. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're going through something personal and taking it out on me. Joy's face went pale, then flushed red again. How dare you suggest that? You don't know anything about me. You're right, De Niro said calmly. I don't know you personally. But I know what I'm seeing right now, and it isn't professional journalism. It's someone lashing out. I am not lashing out, Joy shouted. I am doing my job. Joy, De Niro said sadly. You're embarrassing yourself and everyone on this set. Look around. For the first time, Joy did. The camera operator stared at her with open concern. Producers in the wings looked mortified. Her fellow hosts avoided eye contact entirely. Joy began, then stopped. Something like realization flickered across her face. De Niro saw it and spoke gently. Joy, I don't know what's going on in your life right now. But whatever it is, I'm not your enemy. I came here to promote a movie. I didn't come to hurt you. Joy's hands shook as she clutched her note cards. You think you're better than us? She said bitterly. No, De Niro replied softly. I don't. I think I showed up to work and got blindsided by someone. It's clearly dealing with something they haven't worked through. The word something seemed to snap whatever restraint Joy had left. Issues. She snapped. You want to talk about issues? The studio froze. My issue, Joy continued, her voice breaking, is that people like you get celebrated for doing the bare minimum, while the rest of us fight for every ounce of respect. De Niro blinked, stunned. Joy, what are you talking about? You've been coasting for years, she said, tears welling in her eyes. Your last 10 movies have been garbage, but people still worship you because of a few films you made decades ago. Even if that were true, De Niro replied carefully. What does that justify about how you treated me today? Because it's not fair, Joy said, wiping at her eyes, smearing her makeup. Mediocre men get passes. Women have to prove themselves every single day. Understanding finally dawned on De Niro. So you attacked me because you think I represent a broken system. I'm saying someone needs to call out the emperor, Joy replied, but her conviction was fading. But Joy, Whoopi said gently, that's not what this was. This was personal. Joy turned on her. Don't start, Whoopi. We all coddle these men. Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? De Niro raised his hand. Please. Joy, frustration about inequality is valid. But what you did today wasn't activism. It was cruelty. Cruelty. Joy laughed bitterly. Try being a woman in this industry for 30 years. I believe that's been difficult, De Niro said sincerely. But I'm not responsible for every injustice you faced. I'm just one person doing his job. Joy stared at him, her expression finally crumbling. She started, then stopped. Joy, De Niro said gently, you owe the audience an apology. And you owe me one too. That seemed to snap her back into reality. She looked around the studio again, suddenly stood. I can't do this, she said, pulling off her microphone. Joy, wait, Whoopi called. But Joy was already walking off the set. Chaos erupted. Producers rushed in. The remaining hosts scrambled. De Niro sat frozen, stunned by the sudden collapse. Whoopi turned to the camera with practiced composure.